Welcome to the safety meeting for April 2021. We're going to start out with the aim and hire slides in the kudos corner. Then we're going to do the green team slides, which is recycling and Earth Day. The training department put together the safety meeting for this month, and the topic is locking differentials and brake procedures. And then to finish the safety meeting off, we have the Q2 on the spot award drawing. Aiming Hire Award. The Aim and Hire Award is recognizing your fellow ARR employees by nominating them to receive paid leave for going above and beyond. It can be individual employees or a group of employees that may be nominated by anyone at any time. If you have any questions, please contact any awards or recognition committee members that are listed below. The Aim and Hire recipients in March are Amanda Noble, Carrie Greenwald, and Amy Moosman. Amanda Noble works at Human Resources. In an effort to support AR zero waste initiatives, Amanda Noble has been instrumental to the safety department in transforming paper and pen processes to electronic formats in SharePoint. She has provided innovative ideas that have had major successes in streamlining processes. She is always willing to change her own work schedule to accommodate the safety department with technical support and has done it numerous times at a moment's notice. The safety department really appreciates you, Amanda. Thank you. Next is Carrie Greenwald, who works at Strategic Initiatives. Carrie has worked diligently to launch the Recollect scheduling tool for the Recycle and Reuse Drop-Off Center. She has collaborated with the Diversion Facilities team to troubleshoot problems, soft launch, and test the tool before making it live. Despite several obstacles and setbacks, the RDOC now has a fully functioning online scheduling tool that accommodates at-home pickups of HHW and scheduled drop-off appointments at 15-minute intervals. Next is Amy Moosman, who also works at Strategic Initiatives. In her short time at ARR, less than a year, Amy has already made quite the impact, not only on her work, but also with her work ethic and positive attitude. Primarily, she led the community engagement efforts for the final curbside composting expansion. She collaborated with her team and CPIO to successfully lead the city's first ever interactive multimedia virtual open house. Interactive Speak Up, Austin Page, and Composting AMA. In the middle of all that, she has taken on the community engagement portion of the AR comprehensive plan research, originally intended for the contractors. Finally, delivering a plan that fulfilled our need for equitable engagement throughout all 10 council districts. To say Amy is an asset to ARR is an understatement. We are lucky to have her on the team. Good work, Amy. The other recipients in March are Lisa Mendoza, Christina Sabados, and Lori Scott. Lisa Mendoza works in finance. As ARR began dealing with the impacts of the winter storm and the spring heavy leaf season, it became clear that the department would need additional resources to be able to move the material each day. Lisa Mendoza stepped in and helped AR join in on a contract that would reduce the timeline to bring hauling services online. Without her assistance and hard work, AR would continue to experience extended service delays in organic collections. I believe she deserves to be recognized for her efforts. Next is Christina, who works in finance. Christina Sabalas has been instrumental in helping litter abatement navigate a supply issue with the vendor. She reached out to the supplier for alternatives and researched other contract options available to AR to continue the supply of violet bags. We appreciate Christina's efforts to find an immediate solution and assisting in the effort to reduce litter in our community. Next is Lori Scott, who works in finance. I believe Lori Scott deserves to be recognized for her efforts to establish a truck rental agreement on a moment's notice. She worked directly with corporate purchasing and the vendor to get the contract in place quickly, which helped the department provide more resources for the cleaning up from the winter storm and the spring heavy leaf season. Without her assistance and oversight, AR would continue to experience extended service delays in organic collections. Good work, Lori. Next, we have the Kudos Corner. Kudos stands for Keep Up Delivering Outstanding Services. Do you know of an individual or group who deserves recognition? Give them some kudos. The Kudos Corner recipients in March are Miguel Salinas, Osvaldo Rebolar, Sarah Hoover, and Elisa Ruiz. Good work, guys.
Welcome to the April Green Team presentation. This presentation is a short collection of tips and reminders focused on recycling and Earth Day. Did you know recycling cuts down on greenhouse gas emissions? Essentially, recycling takes less energy than creating new stuff. Except where otherwise noted, these slides and the following Did You Know slides are inspired by and adapted from the How to Save a Planet podcast. Aluminum and many metals can be recycled indefinitely. If you take an aluminum can, you can directly turn it into a new can, and that recycled can has a 95% smaller carbon footprint. Across the board, metal is hard to make from scratch and easy to recycle. Most glass can also be recycled indefinitely. Making glass from recycled material cuts related water pollution by 50%. Recycling paper versus making new paper also decreases emissions by up to 95%. Some of those savings come directly from leaving trees standing. But you can't recycle paper forever, so reducing paper use when possible is best. Americans throw away 2.5 million plastic bottles every hour. By recycling just 5 PET plastic bottles, that provides enough fiber to create 1 square foot of carpet or enough fiber to create 1 ski jacket. As we saw in that last example, plastic does downcycle. Once it gets to a certain point, it's turned into a material that's no longer recyclable. So avoiding excess plastic when possible is best. Earth Day is April 22nd. Check out earthday.org to learn about their 3-day virtual event and 51 ways to restore the earth. Following are 10 actions we can all take to make a positive impact on our environment. Pick up trash while you enjoy the outdoors, or schedule a cleanup, a socially distanced cleanup, with your family, friends, or neighbors. Pledge to use reusable grocery bags if you haven't already. Compost to reduce food waste. Protect our pollinators. Limit or stop use of harmful pesticides. Use a reusable water bottle and avoid single-use plastics whenever possible. Practice sustainable fashion by shopping thrift stores, using online thrift apps, and donating your clothes when you no longer want them. Use non-toxic cleaners at home to protect waterways, yourself, and your family. Reduce your personal water use by taking shorter showers, making sure you don't have any leaks, and installing water-saving devices. Turn off lights and unplug electronics when not in use. Finally, check yourself. You can't change what you don't measure. Earthday.org provides a plastic calculator to help you determine how much plastic you use throughout 1 year. And you can get a personalized carbon footprint analysis by answering a few questions at carbonfootprint.com. Join us. Join the Green Team. The Green Team has started composting to get into shape. It really helps reduce the waste. If you have any questions, please reach out to anyone you know on the Green Team anytime, or email Maddie Morgan if you'd like to join the Green Team. Have a happy and safe April. Thank you.
Welcome to the April Safety Meeting by ARR Training. First, we'll be discussing locking differential, when and how to use. Commercial vehicles are equipped with a locking differential, as noted here in the picture. Locking differentials should only be used when conditions for your tires are unbalanced, such as at the landfill when you're driving in snow and mud, uneven terrain, or possibly on an uneven railroad crossing. You should never ride with a locking differential on. This can cause tire damage and axle damage.
Welcome to your new Freightliner with Detroit axles. In this video, we'll learn about the differential locks and interaxle differential. In a drive axle, the differential compensates for differences in wheel speed while turning. If one wheel loses traction, however, the other wheel will not be able to move. When the differential is locked, both wheels will turn at the same speed no matter what. This greatly improves forward traction in situations such as snow and ice, or uneven surfaces like loading docks, curbs, or road shoulders. This increased traction will limit turning ability, since the inside tire will scrub. In a tandem drive axle, there's also a differential that splits torque between the forward rear and rear axles. This is called an interaxle differential, or power divider. The power divider can be locked so torque is split evenly between axles. In the classic Cascadia, there's a switch on the dash to lock the interaxle differential or power divider. Simply push the switch on the B panel from unlocked to locked, and a red light will appear on the switch. In the new Cascadia, there's also a switch on the dash to lock the interaxle differential or power divider. When engaged, a pop-up will appear in the dash display. Interaxle locks should only be engaged below 25 miles per hour, and never when a wheel has already lost traction. Before entering slippery conditions, slow to an appropriate speed, lift off the throttle, and engage the locks. Avoid driving for extended periods with interaxle locks engaged, as they can cause drivetrain and tire wear or damage. Thank you for taking the time to learn about differential locks. We hope you have a safe and productive time behind the wheel of your Freightliner.
Next, we'll be discussing downshift and grade, as defined by the CDL handbook. The number one safety feature on your vehicle are your brakes. Please view this video where a dump truck failed to ensure his brakes were in proper working order. As he descends down a well-known steep grade in Austin, he causes major damage.
¿Cómo? I don't understand. No entiendo. I'm not from here. No soy de aquí. No soy de aquí. I'm from Paraguay. Soy de Paraguay. Paraguay. And you? ¿Y usted? I'm Mr. Smith from Chicago. Soy el señor Smith de Chicago. Encantada, señor. Encantado, señorita. I don't know where the hotel is. No sé dónde está el hotel. Pero sé dónde está el restaurante. Pero sé dónde está el restaurante.
There are several factors in determining your stopping distance. Perception plus reaction plus braking equals your total stopping distance. We learned this in defensive driving class. Perception distance is the number of feet your vehicle travels from the time an event occurs until you spot or recognize that hazard. Reaction distance is the number of feet your vehicle travels from the time you recognize the hazard and get your foot on the brake. Average reaction time is 3/4 of a second. Braking distance is the number of feet the vehicle travels from the time you apply the brake until the vehicle stops. And please note, unlike our four-wheeled vehicles, you must add air brake lag distance to your total stopping distance. Air brake lag takes about 1/2 second of additional time. This distance increases the speed and elevation. Brakes do not just fail. To ensure they are properly working, conduct a proper pre-trip inspection to avoid collisions. Conduct a proper air brake test to ensure your vehicle has no leaks and stops when the brake is applied. This is not only an ARR daily requirement, it's the state law. As a CDL holder, it is your responsibility. As you can see by the list of steps here for a proper air brake test, it's precise and detailed. We will be providing these steps in a handout to each driver. Additionally, we have made a video to illustrate the proper steps. Recently, an ARR driver was pulled over and DPS cited them. Please note, as a CDL holder, you are responsible for vehicle failures and tickets.
Today I'll be performing an in-cab inspection and a brake test. The first thing that I want to do is check my seatbelt. I have 5 safety items that I want to check first. Seatbelt will be first. Make sure it's not frayed or torn. Make sure that it latches correctly and unlatches so I won't have to cut myself out of it. Make sure that my fire extinguisher is not bent, not broken, not cracked, properly mounted and secure. My pin is in place. It is within date and it is fully charged. I want to make sure that my warning triangles are not bent, not broken, not cracked, properly mounted and secured. You can see that there are 3 of them inside of the box. Then I'm going to check, make sure that my extra fuses are underneath this panel behind the international sign. 5 safety items. Now I'm going to go into my 2 glass items. I'm going to make sure that my windshield is not bent, not broken, not cracked. It's properly mounted and secure. This is supposed to have stickers on it. I'm going to make sure that none of them are illegal. In this case, they're correct. Make sure that my other glass item, my rear view mirrors, are adjusted properly so that I can see out of them, and they're not bent, not broken, not cracked, they're properly mounted and secured. I'm going to turn my key into the on position. The first item I'm going to check is my heater and my defroster. My defroster is working correctly. My heater is working properly. I'm going to hit my left blinker. Make sure that my left blinker is working correctly on the panel. Hit my right blinker. Make sure that it is working correctly on the panel. Hit my bright lights. Make sure that they're working correctly on the panel. My 4-way flashes. My home. Then I'm going to have you get out and check my outside mirrors, outside flashes to make sure they're working. Now we're back inside. I'm going to perform a safe start. And the first things that I'll be checking are my instrument panel gauges. Safe start, meaning my vehicle's in neutral, my parking brake is engaged, and my wheels are also charged. I want to also know that my ABS light has come on, illuminated, and it has now gone off, letting me know that the ABS light is working and the analog braking system is engaged and is working properly. The first gauge I want to check is my oil pressure. I want to make sure that it is rising or at normal operating range. My transmission temperature, I want to make sure that it's rising or at normal operating range. Same thing with my water and or coolant. Make sure that it is rising or at normal operating range. Give it just a little bit of gas. My RPM gauge is working correctly. My miles per hour gauge, I'm going to check that later on in the brake test. I want to make sure that I have enough fuel to make it through a day's work. I want to make sure that my voltmeter is reading between 12 and 14 volts. I'm going to make sure that my secondary and primary air pressure gauges are at normal operating range of 120 to 140 or rising. There goes my governor, it just kicked on, letting me know that it is at 120. Now we'll go ahead and turn the engine off. and I will turn the key back to the on position. My gauges have now reached back up to the level that they were, 120 on my PSI from my secondary and my primary gauge. Vehicle is in neutral, wheels are chalked. I'm gonna press in my parking brake, and I'm gonna wait for 1 minute, and I'm gonna make sure that I don't lose more than 2 pounds in 1 minute. That time I'm gonna hold my service brake. I'm gonna make sure that my service brake loses no more than 3 pounds in 1 minute. Now I'm going to begin to fan the brake. My warning buzzer should come on at 60 psi, and then my parking brakes should pop out between 25 and 40 psi. There goes that warning buzzer. I'm going to keep fanning until my parking brake pops out. My parking brake is now popped out. Then I will move on to the next portion of my braking test. So in order to complete that, I will do another safe start. Vehicle in neutral, parking brake engaged. My vehicle is now started. The first thing that I want to check is make sure that my air pressure is rising properly. So once I get out to 85 pounds of pressure, I'm going to make sure that it gains 85 to 100 within 45 seconds. I will, however, give it a little bit of gas to help me build my air pressure up. So I'm going to rev the engine from about 1,000 to 1,200 RPM. Okay, my gauges have reached about 85 psi. Now I'm going to begin my count off to 45 seconds and make sure that it ensures that it gets to 100 psi within the 45 seconds. Okay, we're now at about 100 psi. Now I'm going to wait for my governor to kick back on at 120 to complete the rest of my braking test. That was my governor kicking in at 120 psi. At this point, I will remove my chocks, do a pull test, and a service brake test. My chocks are now safely removed. I'm going to put the vehicle into the drive position, make sure that my parking brake is still engaged, and I'm going to rev the engine from about 1,000 to 1,200 RPM to make sure that my parking brake is holding. The tug test was good and vehicle held on the parking brake. Now I'm going to leave it to drive, disengage the parking brake, and I'm going to give it gas to about 5 miles an hour. I'm going to slam on my service brakes and make sure that the vehicle is stopping properly, and then it's not pulling to the left or the right, which could indicate uneven brake wear. The vehicle stopped properly and it did not pull to the left or the right. That concludes my brake test.
Section 2 of the CDL handbook discusses steepness of a grade and the proper way to descend. If there is a posted speed limit sign, make sure that you stay under the maximum safe speed. Heed the warning signs indicating the length and steepness of the grade. Take into consideration your load and the weather conditions. You must use the braking effect of your engine as the principal way of controlling your speed on downgrades. The braking effect of the engine is greatest when it is near the governed RPMs and the transmission is in the lower gears. Save your brakes so you will be able to slow or stop as required by road and traffic conditions. Shift your transmission to a low gear before you start down the grade and use the proper braking techniques. Never try and shift gears while you're going down grade. Section 2.6.6. Your vehicle's speed will increase on downgrades because of gravity. Your most important objective is to select and maintain a speed that is not too fast for the total weight of the vehicle plus your cargo and the length of the grade. 2.16.2. Selecting the right gear before you descend. Shift the transmission to a low gear before starting down the grade. Do not try to downshift after your speed has already built up. You will not be able to shift into a lower gear. You may not even be able to get back into any gear, and all engine braking effect will be lost. Forcing an automatic transmission into a lower gear at high speed could damage the transmission and also leads to loss of all engine braking effect. Thank you for participating in the April safety meeting. We've covered using locking differentials only when needed, reducing your speed and downshift before descending down grade, perform a proper air brake test. You can always take a pre-trip class if you have questions. For questions about this or other driver-related information, please reach out to the training team. We're always here to help. Have a wonderful day.
The On the Spot Award Quarter 2 drawing winner is Clinton Kerr. Clinton Kerr assisted safety with COVID-19 PPE while maintaining his daily RRC tasks. Mr. Kerr will get to choose between a big igloo cooler or a king disc grill. Congratulations, Clinton. Your efforts are much appreciated. Thank you very much. That concludes the safety meeting for the month of April. Please notify your supervisor when you complete the safety meeting video. And as always, stay safe.